You know, it's been a good long time since we've had a Doomsday event that was predicted. So, new report suggests high likelihood of human civilization coming to an end in 2050. Whew. It sucks, man. I mean, I'll be what? 36 years old? Or wait, no, I'm sorry. 64 years old. Wow. Let's see where this goes. New report suggests high likelihood of human civilization coming to an end in 2050. The climate change analysis was written by a former fossil fuel executive and backed by the former chief of Australia's military. Wow, just the two men I really wanted to hear from on this. You know, not scientists. You know, they really catch the doomsday. Like, look at our Statue of Liberty there. One of the posts is broken off, her arm's broken off, the torch is gone. There's a big hole in her right shoulder. I mean, geez, they really did her in. A harrowing scenario analysis of how human civilization might collapse in coming decades due to climate change has been endorsed by a former Australian defense chief and senior Royal Navy commander. The analysis, published by the Breakthrough National Centre, you know, they use the RE because they're Australian, for climate restoration, a think tank in Melbourne, Australia, describes climate change as a near to mid-term existential threat to human civilization, man, and sets out a plausible scenario of where business as usual could lead over the next 30 years. The paper argues that the potentially extremely serious outcomes of climate-related security threats are often far more probable than conventionally assumed, but almost impossible to quantify because they fall outside the human experience of the last 1,000 years. Well, I don't know, I'm going to keep going. On our current trajectory, the report warns planetary and human systems, they forgot the R. Come on, man, you're going to tell me we're going to have a doomsday event. Don't forget the R. Are reaching a point of no return by mid-century in which the prospect of a largely uninhabitable Earth leads to the breakdown of nations and the international order. The only way to avoid the risks of this scenario is what the report describes as akin in scale to the World War II emergency mobilization, but this time focused on rapidly building out a zero-emissions industrial system to set and train the restoration of a safe climate. The scenario warns that our current trajectory will likely lock in at least 3 degrees Celsius of global heating, which in turn could trigger further amplifying feedbacks, unleashing further warming. Huh? Well, whatever. This would drive the accelerating collapse of key ecosystems, including coral reef systems, the Amazon rainforest, and in the Arctic. Why wouldn't you just say the Arctic and in the Arctic? Fuck. The results would be devastating. Some 1 billion people would be forced to attempt to relocate from unlivable conditions, and 2 billion would face scarcity of water supplies. Agriculture would collapse in the subtropics, and food production would suffer dramatically worldwide. The internal cohesion of nation-states like the US and China would unravel. Even for 2 degrees Celsius of warming, more than 1 billion people may need to be relocated, and in high-end scenarios, the scale of destruction is beyond our capacity to model with a high likelihood of human civilization coming to an end, the report notes. The new policy briefing is written by David Spratt, Breakthrough's research director, and Ian Dunlop, a former senior executive of Royal Dutch Shell, who previously chaired the Australian Coal Association. In the briefing's foreword, retired Admiral Chris Barry, chief of the Australian Defence Force from 1998 to 2002, and former deputy chief of the Australian Navy, commends the paper for laying bare the unvarnished truth about the desperate situation humans and our planet are in, painting a disturbing picture of the real possibility that human life on Earth may be on the way to extinction in the most horrible way. I don't know if that's the most horrible way. Like, honestly, I think like aliens coming down and sucking our brain juices, and what else? I think an asteroid just BAM! Smacking into Earth. I think that would be the most horrible way. Barry now works for the Climate Change Institute at Australian National University, Canberra. Spratt told Motherboard that a key reason the risks are not understood is that much knowledge produced for policymakers is too conservative. Because the risks are now existential, a new approach to climate and security risk assessment is required using scenario analysis. Last October, Motherboard reported on scientific evidence that the UN's summary report for government policymakers on climate change, whose findings were widely recognized as devastating, were in fact too optimistic. While the breakthrough scenario sets out some of the more high-end risk possibilities, it is often not possible to meaningfully quantify their probabilities. As a result, the authors emphasize that conventional risk approaches tend to downplay worst-case scenarios despite their plausibility. Spratt and Dunlap's 2050 scenario illustrates how easy it could be to end up in accelerating runaway climate scenario, which would lead to a largely uninhabitable planet within just a few decades. A high-end 2050 scenario finds a world in social breakdown and outright chaos, but a short window of a short window of opportunity exists for an emergency global mobilization of resources in which the logistical and planning experience, blah, 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 blah. Listen. Jesus, man. You're writing for Vice. Nafiz Ahmed. Jeez, my man. Cool it.